Hey everybody, welcome to actually it's day 13. We're like almost halfway through the month. A video a day, Debruary. My name is Deborah Cooper. I am the host of this lovely event. And our guest today, you got to see him because I don't really know what I'm doing with this Zoom thing. We have Elliott Katz on again. I've had him on my blog talk show. Originally, I've had him twice here on YouTube. But today's topic, we're going to talk about manhood. And Elliott has written this book that's been translated into like a zillion different languages called Being the Strong Man a Woman Wants, Timeless Wisdom on Being a Man. This has been translated into 24 languages and published in Europe, Asia, Latin America, and Africa. People say that the book has saved their marriage. And one guy lamented, man, if I had understood these things before, my marriage might have been saved. So you guys get ready. And if you have questions about manhood and how to, especially if those of you who are raising sons, this is a very important topic for you. If you have a son whose father's not really that active in his life and you're kind of trying to do it all, there are certain principles of manhood that you need to instill in your son so he doesn't grow up to be what we call a dusty. So let me get Elliott on here and let him introduce himself. What's up, Elliott? Long time no see.
Yeah, it's great to be here. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me on your show. And it's an important topic because as you quote, a lot of men, they think they're being good husbands, they end up divorced and they can't understand why. And that's a common response I've gotten, this saying, if I had known this, maybe we wouldn't be divorced. I've had women say the same thing. If my husband had understood this, our marriage would not have disintegrated.
And that's very important. We have there's an online community. It's like a different world. And one of the very active groups is this group called um, MGTOW, Men Going Their Own Way is what the acronym stands for. I'm sure you've heard of it. And that's one of their chief complaints. I mean, it's like, to me, they have like a script and it's always the same. But the overriding theme is that they got married, they didn't, it didn't work, and they got stuck with child support and alimony payments and splitting up half of the community property, and they are livid. So they're online ranting and raving about it. And I'm like, dudes, I mean, why didn't you try something to figure out what it was you could have done to save your marriage? What can guys do? Just, I don't know, maybe a couple of quick tips to get things on an even keel. Is therapy the only solution?
Well, that's the point exactly. So a lot of men, they feel they were treated unfairly, or they see that their fathers or brothers or friends were not treated fairly. And like I said, a lot of men, they want to be good husbands, but there's a real lack of guidance. A lot of men, I coach men, and often the first thing they'll say is, "Well, I went for counseling and it didn't work." Well, maybe they weren't telling you the right things. And in my book, one of the main things I tell men is you have to be worthy of being a man. That your wife has to see you as worthy of being your partner. And one of the most important things is show your share of leadership. So many men think, well, I don't really know much about raising kids, and I'll be a nice, non-controlling guy. I'll just let her make all the decisions. Whatever you want, you decide. These things don't really matter to me. I get that a lot. Men will say, well, let her decide it. These things don't really matter to me. I said, yeah, but you're not being a man. She really wants you to step forward and show your share of leadership, not being controlling tyrant. She doesn't want you to make every single decision. But if you're always stepping back and leaving it to her, it's very frustrating. And a lot of men don't understand that. And they go to counselors and they don't tell them this. It's like, I don't want to say it's politically incorrect, but it's just like they don't say this. It's just they don't say, you got to show your share of leadership. She really wants you to be a man. And it's fascinating that when I talk to groups or have things on the internet, the comments I get from women are like, yeah, this is the kind of man I want. And that the men really, it's so common. They'll say, no one's ever told me this before. So whatever they're getting from, therapists, they're just not getting messages that are helpful. It seems they just don't hear. So really, what my book is, when I call the timeless wisdom on being a man, it's really the insights that for generations, fathers and other older male role models used to teach younger men, by being a role model, like being a leader, making decisions. It's not about making every single decision, but when your wife says, we have a vacation coming up, where do you think we should go? And the man says, oh, you decide, you plan it. It's very, it's very frustrating to the woman. I've had one woman said to me, when I always have to tell my husband what to do, it makes me feel like he's a child and I am his mother. And she doesn't want that. And men don't
Right.
understand that. They think, well, we'll do whatever you want. I'm being so nice. But, she wants him to be a man and, makes his share of decisions.
Right.
Another woman said, when she feels when she has to wear the pants and make all the decisions, it's like the family is a rudderless ship. She wants a man who can, she doesn't want a controlling tyrant, but someone who's always stepping back and saying, whatever you want, you decide. I'm being such a nice, non-controlling guy. It's very frustrating to her. And it's been so amazing to me that so many women will say, I want a man who wears the pants. I want him to step forward. I don't want to make all the decisions. I had one woman who's like has a successful business. She says, when I'm at work, I'm the boss. But when I'm with a man, I want to feel like a woman. I want him to take charge.
Guys don't get that. Well, what do you say about the guys who, they don't have any real decision making skills?
Right.
I hate to say that, but that's what it is, because the things that they go through what you figure is a logical step-by-step analysis of the situation. And, you're trying to come up with some different solutions and then you pick the best one. They get lost on that track. So what can people do who are maybe raising kids, teenagers? How can they start teaching these young men to make sound decisions?
Well, first thing is a man, like a father or other older male role model, should be a role model. Like, make decisions. Like, what? So your son or should be able to watch his father, how his father makes decisions. That's how you learn, by watching people who are good at it. And of course, you can explain, how do we make decisions? We have the pros and the cons, and you know is you're thinking long term, short term. All these things that go into making a decision, but they really need to see their father make a decision. Today we have all these ideas about democracy in the family. I'm all for democracy, but it's almost like, well, you're shirking your responsibility. The man and the wife, they're the leaders of the family. And now today it's like, well, we have to ask our kids to make a decision. It's like, wait a minute. Yes, it's good to get your children input, but you are responsible. So that means you got to make the decision, because you got to take responsibility for the outcome. And when children see that, that's when they learn to make decisions and to become leaders. I used to think, because this really reflects my own journey, I used to think, well, if you're being a leader to your kids, it's more like you're teaching them to be followers, but you're not. You're actually teaching them to be leaders. Because if you're not being a leader, they don't know how to be a leader. They won't
Right.
see you. But if you show your share of leadership, they'll say, oh yeah, that's how my father was. I'm going to do it like my father.
Oh, that would be so great. One of the ladies in the chat stream said that she knows a lot of women who count their husband as one of their children.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
I've heard that so many times.
Oh,
It's sad. And the sad thing about this is, and I've got that comment lots of times, is that these men really think, well, I'm being a modern progressive man. I won't be controlling. I don't want to be accused of being controlling. So, these decisions, and the men will say, a lot of these decisions don't matter to me. Really, we can do whatever you want. I've had single women. I couldn't count the number of single women who say to me, a man asked me on a date. Okay, yes, but then they can't even choose a place to go for a cup of coffee. They want her to decide everything. And I've had women say to me, if a man can't even plan a date, like the first date,
yeah,
how is he
no.
going to handle the responsibility of a family? But men don't think that. They think, I'm showing her I'm non-controlling. And the
No,
other
you're showing her that you're a lazy bum. That's what you're showing her.
exactly.
Because to me, it's when people don't want to make a decision and take a stand, what they're doing, they put make you have to do it. Now, sometimes that might not be a big deal, like, okay, so you have a couple of kids. The guy's just gonna eat whatever the kids eat for dinner. So you ask him what he wants for dinner every day. He's gonna say, oh, I don't really care whatever the kids want to eat. Okay, that's a simple little thing. But you're talking about some really big decision, like what kind of car we should have, buy, or where we should live, and things like that. She's looking for your input. And these guys, a lot of the women say, like, you get in the car, like, the guy comes to pick you up and stuff. And so then you're like, okay, where are we going? And what are we doing? And they're just like, oh, I don't know, wherever you want to go. And so you put yourself in a position where then you're forced to choose, and then they put themselves in a position where they can judge what your choice was and say, oh well, you picked that place and it was awful. The food was this and it was, dark, and my food wasn't to my satisfaction. And so it makes you feel bad, and you're forced into a corner to have to make all the decisions.
You talked about asking the husband what he wants for supper. That's a common example because that's something everyone can relate to. The wife calls her husband at work, what would you like for supper, chicken or fish? And he says, why is she bothering me at work? Like, whatever you make will be good. You decide. And then he can't understand. She asked for his input because she wants it. And so I tell them, well, if it really doesn't make a difference to you, then it's a really easy decision to make. Just
Right.
choose one.
Right. Yeah, that would be nice. Usually, like they say I don't really ask me what they want. I just cook what I like, and then you just eat some.
But if you ask him for his input, you don't want him to say, you decide whatever you want. It's like you want his thoughts. And the other thing is, see, this is why this can lead to major problems, because often, the man will say, whatever you want, or he won't even say anything. She'll choose something and he'll think, well, maybe that's not such a good choice, but she wants it. And then if it goes wrong, if it's a bad choice, and she'll say, well, why did you let me do that? And like, he said, well, it's your fault because you didn't
Yeah,
eat
see, no.
anything. Well, what do I have here? Like, do I have a husband? Like, don't blame your wife. Don't give in to something is wrong. If you see something that maybe she's doing something not right, don't just sit there and think, well, I'll just blame her when it goes wrong. Don't
Yeah,
do
see,
that.
this will
Bad
drive
thing.
you right to divorce court. This was,
Exactly. Oh
because she's
yeah. Oh
sick of
yeah.
you. That I mean, after years of that kind of stuff, she's fed up.
Yeah,
And guys,
exactly.
they just don't understand it. It's like, I was doing everything right. I don't understand why she
Exactly.
left me.
Deborah, that's
Elliot, what do you think about this phrase? As this is very common. We hear this a lot from the female, women hear this a lot. Well, these women out here are so manly, they won't let me be a man. Let me be a man. What is your take on that?
Right. So I've heard that lots. Or when I talk to men, I said, you got to, show your share of leadership. Well, what if she has to let me be the leader? Or, what if she doesn't let me be the leader? I said, well, you got to be the leader. Maybe if she's, saying something contradicting you, she's testing you to see if you really mean it. Or maybe she has some input that's valuable and you should consider it. But yeah, that's all thing, yeah. When I hear men say that, I said, boy,
I know.
I get exasperated because she doesn't need to let you. You need to step forward and show leadership. It's not, when a man is asking his wife permission to be a leader, it's oh boy, you got to read my book. Right?
I put a link to it in the show description in case somebody wants to get, you can click it in that. That helps our channel because we get the commission of the purchase off of Amazon. But I'm telling you, Elliot, because it's like, these guys are like, well, if you won't let me be a man, how is she stopping you? I don't understand that. It just makes it sound like you just are just a lazy bum and don't want to do the work necessary to step in front of her. And somebody has to make the decisions. If it's not going to be you, and there's only two people in the household, two adults,
Right.
that means she's the default decision maker.
Right. Well, see, she may criticize what he wants to do, or like I said, he doesn't want to be accused of being controlling, so he thinks he's playing it safe. And but if she disagrees, or he just figures, well, this all doesn't really matter to me, so I'll just do what she wants. I've heard that so many times. I said, well, these decisions don't matter. Why should I make them? Because you're leaving them all to your wife. And I remember talking to one fellow and talking about the importance of showing leadership and making her share decisions. And he says, but I'm a nice guy. I let her make the decisions because I'm a nice guy. I want to be a nice guy. And I said, yeah, but you know what? Making decisions and dealing with situations is really hard work. Yeah, finding a solution, it's hard work, and you're leaving all that on your wife, and she resents that. And he said, yeah, yeah, it is easier just to leave it to her. Yeah, of course it's easier.
Oh, what a
That's why she
bum.
resents you.
Those are the kind of guys what we call dusties on this channel. Those are dusties. Oh, someone says, hi, Elliott, thanks for your perspective. I'm using the swipey thing. Oh, that's our nickname for those, those apps, because you swipe left and swipe right. I call them the swipey things in this call on here. I'm using the swipey thing occasionally, and I see many profiles with the line looking for a woman to submit. What are your thoughts?
To submit.
Yeah, like biblical submission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I mean, you know what? You just got to be a man and show leadership. And if this is what I tell men: you got to show your share of leadership, make your share of decisions, and the woman will see you as a strong man and be happy to go along with you. If she sees you as worthy, if she sees you making stupid decisions or damaging decisions, she's going to think, well, this guy is not for me. But if she sees you as a good leader, making good decisions, like thinking things through, then you don't have to say, I need you to submit. She'll be happy to go along with you because that's what she wants. Really, that's a woman wants a man she can trust. Like I had one woman say to me, you know, I'm not married because if I'm going to marry a man, I have to feel I could trust him with my life. And so she needs to look at that man and say, well, if he makes a decision, that's a good decision. He's smart. I like the way he does things. So I'm happy to go along with him. To say, oh, you need to submit to me if you're doing stupid things, that's stupid.
Well, I feel like, they come in the door, they haven't even proven themselves, right? You haven't seen him do anything. Like not no make no decision. This is on an app. She doesn't even know the guy's middle name yet. But he's already trying to set up a dynamic where he positions himself to be superior to her. But that's what it is. For them, it's about superiority. It's not about, being in a position of responsibility and accountability, which a leader is.
No, exactly, exactly. I mean, men will think that. Well, it's like the same similar question about, the woman won't let me lead, like saying the same thing. I want you to submit to me, but she has to feel you're worthy of submitting to it. You're worthy of, going along with and being your helper, and if she feels that, hey, she's happy, and then that's great. But you've got to work on yourself. That's why I tell men, it's like, don't blame your wife. Like you have to work on yourself to be the kind of man who's worthy, that she can look up to you and say, yeah, that's the kind of man I want as my partner. I want to help him to achieve the goals that we have for our family. That's what I want. If you're not that and you're just blaming her when things go wrong, don't do it.
I think also, I think a lot of guys don't understand. Okay, they want to have all this respect and admiration that a leader does. But if you are the kind of person who will never take a responsibility for the things that you do wrong, then what? I mean, what? How is she supposed to trust anything about you? And then you turn around and you want to cheat on her. Okay, all your leadership, whatever skills go out the window there because now she really doesn't trust you.
Right, right, right. Well, that's the challenge, right? I mean, marriage is hard work, and it's about controlling. One of the things I say in my book is it's called being the strong man. So being the strong man is being a man who controls himself. It's not about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself. If there are challenges, you got to calm yourself down and think about, what do I need to change about myself. If you're going to go cheat on your wife, like that's not going to help you. You're just destroying your marriage. It's stupid. You're not being strong. You're actually
Right.
just giving in to your physical urges, and you're destroying your marriage. So being strong is controlling yourself.
I agree. And I think that's yeah, see you guys, I told you. Someone put I am the king. Yeah, that's they say that a lot. It's if you got a guy who can't really control himself, like they don't want to work, their work ethic is shaky. They want to skip work and call out a lot. They make promises. It can be something small, like I'll come and pick you up from work at 5 o'clock. Well, at 5:30, you're still waiting. Things like that. I mean, these guys don't understand for women, every little, even what they consider to be a nothing thing, is a nick on her trust in her belief in you as a leader and as a man. And every time she's chipping away when you don't come through, you're becoming less and less of a man in her eyes. Do you agree?
No, absolutely. It's I explain to men that a woman wants to feel special. She wants to feel that she is special to you, and you are making her feel special. So if you have no respect for her, like you come late, or you're talking about keeping a job or having a work ethic, that seems to be a big problem these days. Like, people just seem to be looking for ways not to work. It's like, uh, I don't know. I just think, I believe we're put on earth to contribute to the world. And so if you're just looking for ways not to work, and, I know, lots of situations where one spouse wants the other spouse to get a job and they just refuse and they end up divorced. It's like, well, don't you want to go out to the world and do something? It's, and especially if you're, if like I know one woman, her husband sort of worked part time. He was always on, off, and off. All she wanted was to get a full time job, and I thought this woman was a wonderful person. I said, "Well, why wouldn't you do it for her?" Well, anyway, they ended up divorced. So I understand that. But I think we enable people to do it. There doesn't seem to be the sense of like, responsibility, adult responsibility. You married someone, you had children with them, you are responsible to go out and earn a living and support your family.
You
It's
would think, but I noticed too that a lot of, look at how many young men are suffering from that failure to launch syndrome. They still live with their parents and they're 30 years old and they don't have a girlfriend, they're not married, some of them don't even have a job, and they are just, I don't know. It's like they're trying to continue their childlike existence, playing video games all the time and
right,
things
right.
like that, instead of building something and learning and reading books and going to lectures and doing something to advance themselves as men. What is the problem there? Because it seems to be so widespread these days.
Yeah, I know it's one of those things. I mean, there's lots of causes, but I think one is I think the parents are enabling it. One, or they haven't really taught their son, this is what it means to be a man. Like you go out into the world. Maybe they're lacking in the confidence. I mean, it's really important, like to deal with the issue and find out why. But a part of it is, there was an old fashioned idea that, okay, if you drop out of school or you're not in school or you graduate, whatever, get a job. It's either you're in school or you get a job. There's nothing in between. There's no sitting around and, going out with your friends till 6 in the morning, coming home and sleeping all day. Go out and get a job, or go, if you need more education, go back to school, get more education so you can get a job. But there's none of this sitting around. I don't know. It puzzles me. Like, why are you letting this go on? You want to take care of him. You're not really taking care of him. Like, don't give him money. He's got to go out and earn his own money so he has money to spend. It's I
Yeah, I don't know. And they're like, they pay the adult children. And some of the adult children are in the workforce with like degrees and whatnot. And the parents are still helping them paying their cell phone bills, car insurance, and stuff like that. And, I'm like, do you not realize that you're like heading into retirement age and you need your money? What are
right,
you
right.
doing?
Well, you're also making them dependent on, your kids have to learn how to be independent and self-supporting. It puzzles me, but it's so common. It sort of kind of surprises me. But I don't know. I tell people, like, you have to deal with the issues. What is holding this person back from getting a job? Did they have bad experiences? And maybe deal with what's really holding them back. But giving them money, like giving them a credit card and you're paying it,
Yeah, no,
which is what I've seen. It's like that's not good.
we're not doing that. Well, what do you have? What advice do you have for, since our society has changed, the dual parent household is kind of going the way of the dodo bird. But what advice might you have for a young woman who is trying to do a good job to raise her son so that he does grow up to be a responsible, accountable leader? Do you have any tips?
Well, I mean, do the best you can, like being a role model. If you're a single parent, be a role model of a leader and someone makes decisions, but also, connect them. Like if the father's out of the picture, well, and if you can't get the father involved, with his son, have your father and uncle really spend time with him, and because really boys learn from watching other men. It's nothing new. It's when a young man can watch an older man how he does things, how he treats a woman, how he treats a wife, how he relates to other men socially and in business. That's how he learns. He learns from watching. So just if you can, try to include an older man who could be a good role model for him, because that's really what he needs. I mean, you
Like
really
a
see it.
mentor.
A mentor, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You
What
really see
about
it.
Elliot, when you this trend where the women take the guys out on dates and the women pay, or they do all this Dutch stuff, or this other concept the women have, they want to try to make it look like the guy's paying, so they slide him the money so that he actually does the paying, but it's really her money.
Well, I tell no, I've coached men on this. I said, look, you know what? Especially the first date, when you take her out, choose a nice place to take her, but make sure it's someplace you can afford to pay for both of you. And when the bill comes, pay it. And she may offer to pay the bill or split the bill. She's testing you to see if you're going to insist on paying. So insist on paying, because it makes her feel special. So that's all I do. Like, and I say, splitting the bill is not the way to show you believe in equality.
Yeah.
Just pay it. And I've had lots of women say, like one woman, very successful. She said she went out for dinner with a fellow on the first date. The bill came. She offered to pay, and he accepted. And then he couldn't
Okay, no more
understand
dates for you.
why she wouldn't go out with him again. Really, women like to feel special. I tell men, when you take them out, you pick them up, open the car door for her. No woman will say, "You think I can't open the car door myself?" No, it makes them feel special. Hey, he took the time, and like plan the date, take her out, pay for her. It's really, you don't have to spend a lot of money, because if you're not loaded with money, take her a place that reflects you. That this is the kind of place I go to. A nice place. You're showing them about yourself, but pay for her.
Right.
It's especially the first date, and often after a couple of dates, the woman might say, you know, she'll offer to pay because she wants to show she's not just a taker. She wants to contribute also, which is very nice. But really, just these new ideas about like you say slipping the guy the money, like. Is that what you want? Do you want to do that for the rest? If you marry this guy, you want to be slipping him money for the rest of your life? You better decide.
Yeah, I don't. I'm telling you, I don't understand it. I constantly tell them, okay, wait a minute. If you're doing all the man things, then what does that make him? You
Right.
know,
Right. Are you making him into the woman? I know that's no, I know one story. A woman told me they went to this like a cafeteria style kind of place where they weigh your food at the end. So they got to the end, and the cashier said, "Is this separate or together?" And he said together. And then he didn't do anything. Like he expected her to pay. I guess
what?
I couldn't believe it. Anyway, I don't know. Like anyway, just take
Dating,
her
I'm
some.
telling you, it's just a nightmare. It's just like sometimes you just want to, just the thought of you having to go on a date just fills you with such dread. You don't even want to do it.
Right, right. So I tell a story. Many years ago, I went out with this woman on the first date. We went to a movie, and we got to the ticket booth, and she took out her wallet, and I took out mine, and I bought two tickets. And then she wanted to pay for her ticket. I said, "No, no, it's okay. No, she wanted to." I said, "It's okay." So then she went back to the ticket seller and got exact change, and thrust the money on me. She forced me to say, "Okay, I don't want to make a scene here." And then after that, yeah, I just let her pay because like she was so insistent. And then after a little while, she says to me, "You never pay for me." I said, "What?" "You
What?
were so insistent." She says, "Well, you could have tried again." So you know what? It just shows even when they insist on paying, they really want you to pay. So just pay. Really, don't take her to a place you can't afford. Just take her to a nice place where you can have a nice time and pay for her. It makes her feel special. That's really the bottom line. You want her to feel special. That's why, open the car door for her, even help her on with her coat. All these old fashioned things were all like meant to show, hey, I think you're special.
One thing that I've started to do is like if I meet a guy, because Elliot, so many of them are just don't measure up. And so a lot of women they have a problem. They're like they don't like to do like a coffee date. They want to have a full dinner date. And I'm like, But what I do is, and I just want to get your take on this. I'll say I'll meet them for a drink, or I'll meet them for coffee or whatever. And whatever it always happens is if we're really getting along well, they say, well, can I buy you dinner? Because they want to continue the date. Now, even though it started with those small parameters, if it's going well, then they want to continue the date. If it's not, then I say, well, oh, look at the time. And I just and then I'm out of there. So I don't want to be stuck, any place for an hour and a half or 2 hours having the dinner and dessert and coffee and stuff with a guy that's just gross. I don't want to do that.
I think a coffee date is the best way to start. You can spend an hour with the person and then decide, do I want to pursue this? Do I want to see them again? That's perfectly reasonable. I don't think I mean, you don't have to go for dinner or something. It's like you say, you're committed to be with that person for 2 or even 3 hours. Start with an hour coffee date and then decide, do we want to pursue this?
Yeah. That's worked out well for me, but a lot of women are just adamant that they want the dinner date. And I'm like,
Really?
you guys are just really gonna get yourself stuck in a situation where you just feel uncomfortable and you have to sit there waiting for your food. And no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Let me see if I can find a question here in the chat room for you from one of the ladies, since I've been not really, let's say, oh, so one says dating in Gen Z. I don't know what age group that is. That must be the youngest, the
Yeah,
younger
the
one.
youngest. Yeah.
Okay. Is the absolute worst. Guys these days won't even take you on a date. And if they do, they'll tell you to plan it. So far, the only one who has properly planned it and invited me on a date, just one guy.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me because like they just didn't learn these things. It's like these ideas that from the past. They didn't learn. When you want to go on a date with a woman, you plan it. You call her up. You plan. I met a woman, and I asked for her phone number, and she gave it to me. And then I said, "Do you want my number?" And I don't know why I said that. It just I don't know, no particular reason. Because sometimes you exchange numbers. But she said to me, "No, I'll get your number when you call me." It's like, she said to me, "If you're interested in me, be a man and pursue me." I said, "Yeah, I'm fine with that." you
Yeah,
know,
good for her.
right. So it's like pursue her, ask her out, plan what you think you would both enjoy doing, take her out, pick her up, open the car door, take her out, and make her feel special. These are things that just make the woman feel special. Talking about dates and all. Someone was telling me a story about these two people that she set up, and the man, they went out for coffee. They got to the Starbucks. Well, he got there first, so he ordered a coffee and he sat there with his coffee. And then she arrived and she sat down and he didn't do anything. It's like he thought, well, you think he'd say, well, what can I get you? It's because I know, see, this is how they think. Oh, I believe in equality. I went and got my own coffee. So can she. But like, forget all those ideas. You want to make her feel special. If you get there first, wait for her. Then go together and order what you like, and then pay for her, and then sit down and talk.
Oh
It's
my
it's.
God, what a nightmare. How rude. I would have got up and left.
Well, there was no second date, obviously.
Yeah, well, with me, that wouldn't even have been a first one. But do you do any kind of like workshops for guys, to get them, together, get their minds right about what they need to do if they want to have a good relationship with a woman?
I do. Do. I do presentations with guys. I coach people individually, and the goal is just keep people married, help people get married. Yeah, no, I do that, and it's like I say, so often the men say, "No one's ever told me this," or they, how come no one's ever told me this before? You know, that it's very rewarding. Yeah, people want to contact me, they can contact me through my website, www.elliottKatz.com, ELLIOTTKATZ.com, and I'll be happy to work with them in the
Okay,
group
because
or
I
whatever.
think that would be really good because I think this voice is very much needed. So, in a woman is she when a woman is trying to determine if a guy is um, his mind is right about manhood and he's going to be a good choice. What kind of things should she be looking for? We're talking like the early dating phase because most of my audience is single.
Right, right. Well, I think it's really the things we talked about. Is he, does he have ambition? Is he working, or is he living in his parents' basement? Is he, right? Does he take the lead? Is he ask you out and ask you to plan the date, or is he a man with a plan? And that's really, can he show a share of leadership? Does he take responsibility? It's interesting to listen to people. Do they blame if they start talking about their ex partners? Do they blame them for everything, or do they talk about, this is what I learned from my past? Women will ask that to me about the past. I said, let me tell you what I learned, rather than I don't need to talk about the past. Let me share with you what I learned, and I think that's more important than blaming, because blaming just makes you look like you haven't learned anything. You're still blaming the other person. Nobody's perfect, and I'm sure in every failed relationship, you could say all kinds of negative things about your ex partner. But the thing is, you were there too. What did you learn from all this? And what are you bringing forward into the next relationship that you learned? And so you won't have the same outcome as in the past.
One of the chatters says that she's glad to hear that there's a man out there speaking directly with men about how about to be better in relationships because most times the audience is women and what they need to do to keep a man.
All right, right, right. Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, there are things that women can do, and I think the problem is that men tell women that they need to change, women tell men that they have to change, and nobody's really listening.
Well, I think women do a lot of the changing, and I think they've just gotten to the point where they're tired of it because you get into a situation and every guy that you're with is demanding, things from you and wanting you to be what his fantasy woman is. And a lot of women, fall for that and they jump through all these hoops and go through all these trips and everything to give these guys what they say that they want, and then of course they're expecting a certain thing in return and then it doesn't come and the women end up very angry. But I think in reality everybody should just the women should just be who they are. But what we're seeing systematically and socially is a twist as far as what manhood is and the leadership and follow through and all that stuff, and it's creating a real troubling culture where there's a lot of women who are single and want a relationship, but the men are not prepared to be husbands and responsible fathers. So we're training the girls to do these things, but not the boys. And so that's it's not. There's a disconnect there.
Right, right. So, I mean, that's a problem. And so, really, a woman would be wise if to try to figure that out as soon as possible. And if he's not committed to, marriage and having a family and taking on that responsibility, then are you going to change? You're going to change him and make him responsible. That's a big job. I mean, you might be able to inspire him. It does happen, but you know, you don't. I don't waste your time. Look, I think there are a lot of men who are looking to get married and have families. They want a wife who's their partner to help them achieve, to help them achieve that goal. I think you just gotta find someone, because really, if they're not, so many times women think they're gonna change the man. They're gonna, or even like they get married and he says I don't want to have kids, and then she thinks, oh, I'll convince him once we get married. It's like, you know,
No, you
if he
won't.
says something, take him at his word. Don't think you're gonna change it, because really, there are men who want that, and just keep looking until you find that man. It's, you know, but and I'll, same thing for men. I tell men, like here as we're talking about, they have all these ideas that they think are right because they hear all these messages in the media and they think they're doing the right thing. I said, look, you want to have a good marriage, you want to have a happy family. This is what you got to do. Take responsibility. Show your share of leadership. Don't just think your job is to bring in money, because that's what happens a lot of time. Men think, I'll bring in the money, she'll raise the kids, she'll do everything at home, and he thinks, well, that's great. I'm being this great husband, but really to her, and then they say, when I come home, I ask you what I should do, and I just do whatever she says. I say to them, well, but that's what a nanny does. You got to be the man and show your share leader. You got to know what's going on, what problems are happening with your kids. You guys, okay, there's this problem. We got to do something about it. I'll work on it. I'll come up with a solution. And then you decide, well, is this something I should discuss with my wife or not? Depending on what it is. And it's okay. I get her input, move forward, and then she'll love you. And
Yep.
she won't see you as a child that she has to, and she's your mother. But that's the thing when men don't realize you got to do more than that. You can't just be working all the time. But that's what happens. A lot of men, they think about they pay for the house, they pay for this, and they pay for that. It's a good thing. I mean,
Oh, yeah, nobody's complaining about that part,
but
but there's more needed
there's
here.
more.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow, this is really interesting. I think, one thing a phrase that I've found it rather than complain to guys about what they do and all that, when they do something that I don't like that, I say, that's really not sexy.
Okay,
And that gets their immediate attention. They're like, what? What do you mean?
that's good. That's good. Okay, I'm going to use that.
Yeah, I was like, that's not sexy. And they're like, oh no, what shall I do? You can see the gears start changing, turning in their mind. And so I don't want to, I don't ever want to put myself in a position where I am telling you what to do and, like I'm your mother and nagging and all that. I'm just going to tell you that's not sexy. And if it's not that, then that means that you're turning me off.
Right,
Okay. You're
right.
turning me off. And then whatever little fun things you want to have, it's not going to be happening, Captain. So, you better
Okay,
figure out what you need to do to turn this around. And that's how I do it. See, I'm just sharing my secrets.
okay, that's good.
And it's like,
I'm going to use that. You may think you're pleasing her, but you're not. It's not sexy at all to her.
yeah,
Okay, I like that.
I'm trying to tell you that men can relate to that. They understand exactly what you mean when you say that. There need to be no more words. Okay, let me check the chat room a little bit. Anybody had a question for Elliott? Because I try not to keep our guests here forever and a day. These people have lives, I'm the only one without one. Uh, okay, respect others' choices. Well, that's true, but you can only respect others' choices when it doesn't really, if their choices are stupid and it impacts you, well, then that's not going to go over too well. No, I can't respect your choice when you got to put me in a horrible situation. Like this got one woman I know, she wanted, trying to submit to her husband and follow, he's the leader and everything. So he wanted to invest this money. And he didn't really do a really good job of looking at the potential and for the return and the risks involved and whether this couple really had that kind of disposable income. He didn't do any of that. He just got all caught up in the fluff factor and the sales
Right, right.
pitch. And so he takes all their savings, it was about $20,000, and they had two young children, and he invested in this thing and they lost everything. And she, of course, was very upset. But I'm like, why did you see what you said? Why did you let him do that? Well, he's the man and he's going to be making decisions. I'm like, yeah, but he has no track record of making sound decisions. There's no way he should be able to have access to all of your money like that without your buy-in and signature and all that. This guy was a nut.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's something I actually deal with in the book, is the whole idea of like you shouldn't do risky financial investments because even if in the long term it will be successful, because that stress can destroy a marriage. And also, what you're saying is very true. Like people get swept away. They get sold by these charismatic salespeople without really
Mhm.
realizing the risk involved in investments. it's that's sad. It's a sad story what you're telling. I'm sorry to hear that that's what happened. It's
Well, yeah,
uh,
she ended up divorcing him because there was just so much. It was just too much, and his decision making processes. We was always very emotional about. He made these decisions emotionally and not
right, right,
logically.
right, right,
And so
right.
one story after another, but that was like the worst one. And so I thought I would share that with you.
But you know we were talking about submitting it. This still doesn't hold her back from giving her opinion and because a man should listen to his wife when she has something worthwhile to say. In that case, she definitely should have done her own investigation and said, "Hey, look, this is too high risk an investment. We shouldn't be investing in it." Yeah,
But she did ask him,
yeah,
well, let's think about this some more. And, do you know anybody else who, invested in it and things like that? And he was like, yo, you just trying to hold me back. I'm trying to make this move for our family and all
right,
this
right,
stuff. And so, it was going to be the kind of thing where she felt like if she didn't go along with it and this thing blew up and then they, he wasn't a part of it, he would never let her live it down.
right,
We could have
right,
had millions because of you. We
right,
don't have
right.
anything. So it put her in a very awkward position. I understand it, but I mean, why all of the money? Maybe just half the money,
Right. No, you're supposed to diversify. I have some experience in these kind of investments, and what often happens is the people don't really understand what they're investing in, and they're afraid to admit it because they may be intelligent people in their careers and their professions, but when it comes to evaluating an investment, they don't have the knowledge, and those are the people who get taken. It's very sad. It's not a good situation, and really for people listening, like if your spouse is considering something high risk that some charismatic salesperson at this fancy sales presentation where they served all this food and drink, like try to get them to think clearly and like, really examine the risks or get it evaluated by someone who's impartial and can give you an honest opinion of how risky the investment is. It's
yeah, my motto with investments, like in the stock market, is if it's not money I can't afford to lose, I don't do it.
right,
That's
right,
I'll just keep my little money right there in my little savings account at the credit union, and
right,
my little big bonds or whatever I'm gonna do. But
and
I just not gonna do that.
and it's like you're saying this example, and I talk about in the book. It leads to a lot of divorces are caused by financial stress, and so you know what? It's better to live, in a smaller house, and just live more modestly and not have that stress.
What do you
It's
think, Elliot, about the attitude a lot of guys have where they're expressing a lot of negativity and disrespect towards women? And I'm not even talking about necessarily the ones that you're in a relationship where it's verbal abuse in a domestic violence type situation. Just random women. What is going on with what kind of manhood is that?
Yeah, it's not manhood. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's kind of bizarre. Like I don't know. It's like, are they resentful because another woman rejected them or something? Like, you don't treat women like that. It's really, I think it goes back to really what we talked about at the beginning. Like, so many young men weren't raised by a man who was a good role model, and so like like my father would never treat a woman like that. So I would never treat a woman like that because he was respectful to my mother and to other women, of course, because that's the way one is supposed to be. But if I guess if you're not raised with that, or if you watch what's going on in some of the media shows, then you think it's okay. But it's not. You're right. You're right. It's really a lot of these things. Like, to me, is like it's really a father's job to teach a young man, or, a father, older male role model, teach a young man this is how one behaves in this world. One takes responsibility. When you're finished school, you get a job. You treat, if you're getting married, you go out and support your family because that's part of your responsibility. You show your share of leadership at home. You take responsibility. These are things that young men used to learn from their fathers, but it seems to be lost to a lot of young men today. It's That's really the whole point of my book, is really to convey those insights and teachings. Like, this is what a man should be, and you do this, and you'll have a much better relationship in your marriage.
I agree. Well, his book, ladies, and any gentlemen listening, is being a strong man, a woman wants timeless wisdom on being a man. There is a link in the show description page down below where you can order the book on Amazon.com and get the book delivered right to your house. Okay. Oh, she says, ding, ding, ding. You said a lot just saying what it takes. Respect. The respect. What is she? Oh, it's rolling up. Stop, stop. Respects women, not just as mother, daughter, grandmother, etc. He respects them in general. And yes, most of them don't do that. Thank you, Naphtali. I so and you have any closing words though, Elliot? Anything that maybe I forgot to ask you about that you want to say?
I think we covered it pretty well. It's just, as I was saying, today's men, be a man, show leadership, make your share of decisions, take responsibility, because as one person said to me, the problem today is that men act like women act like men, but women want real men. And be that man, you'll see it will work. Try it. You'll see there'll be a difference. Yeah, try it. That's what I tell men. Try it. You don't believe me? Try it. You got nothing to lose.
I agree. Well, I want to thank you for coming here and stopping by again. I'm like I like to have you here every year because this topic never gets old. It
Right.
never gets old, and there's always a new generation that need to hear the message. So, um, enjoy your evening, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Always, always. Talk to you later.
Okay.
Okay, you people. That was Elliott Katz. He's one of my favorite guests. He has to be because he's the only person I've had on my show 3 times, other than Lige Daily and who else? I think there's one other person. But yeah, that's it. So that I really like this guy. I love what he has to say. I love his presentations, very mature and thoughtful guy. And so he doesn't tend to like, get on people's nerves too much and make people be aggravated like a lot of the guests that we've unfortunately had on the show. But thanks you guys for coming. I know it's a different time for you, but I'm glad that many of you showed up. Be here tomorrow if you can. We got 2 more live streams in a row. It's like a 4 live stream week, like right in a row. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday and Saturday, I think. Yeah, it's 5 live streams in a row. Tomorrow's show is on finances. So if you have questions about your money, about budgeting, about saving, investing, anything like that, feel free to email it in advance to survivingdating@gmail.com. That's survivingdating@gmail.com. And then to question for our guest tomorrow on money. On Saturday, we'll be talking about, I forgot what her name and what her story is, but you can check all the show description things on the channel wall and get the full scoop on the topics that we have coming up. All the show pages are already up online. Okay, you guys, thank you for coming. I appreciate the super chats and all your comments and questions for Elliott. And you guys go out and just be as awesome as you always are. And I will see you on tomorrow. If you can make it, those of you who'll be on your Valentine's date, I guess we won't see you, but we'll see the rest of you. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye bye.